Hi friends! The Department of Plant Biology and Plant Biotechnology gladly welcomes you to the online course on mushroom cultivation, Part 1 History of Mushroom. Come on friends, let's get into this video. Mushrooms were thought to be special and supernatural in origin. 4,600 years ago, the Egyptians believed mushrooms to be plants of immortality. The Romans thought mushrooms were the food of the gods. Many people collect mushrooms for the purpose of consumption, but lots of myths and false concepts still survive today. The word mushroom is derived from the French word for fungi and molds. One day, around 1650, a melon grower near Paris discovered mushrooms growing on his growth fertilizer. He decided to cultivate this new exotic delicacy commercially and to introduce it in exclusive Parisian restaurants. It was at that time that the mushroom was given the nickname Parisian mushroom. Later on, the French gardener, Chambry, discovered that the caves had just the right cool and moist environment for cultivating mushrooms, after which large-scale mushroom cultivation developed in the caves around Paris. Fungi were most likely cultivated for the first time around the year 600 in Asia. In Europe, the first cultivated fungi, the mushroom, was introduced in the 17th century. Mushrooms were introduced into the Netherlands for the first time at the beginning of the 19th century, but it was not until after the 1900s that they were cultivated on a large scale in the marl mines in Limburg. The Chinese, Japanese and India are particularly known for their ardent mycophilia, and to this day particular mushrooms convey social status to those lucky enough to enjoy the fruits of fungi. Chinese and Japanese herbalists employed mushrooms to resist disease and prolong life. Auricularia polytricha, ear fungus, was first cultivated in ancient China around 300 to 200 BC. This mushroom is now cultivated in many South Pacific countries. Flammulina violetips, Shiitake, has been cultivated for several centuries. This small delicate mushroom was cultivated on sawdust. Different cultures cultivated different species. Cultivation of mushrooms in Western cultures was first recorded in Paris, France, around 1650. Agaricus bisporus, the quintessential shop mushroom, was first observed growing in melon crop compost. This mushroom was cultivated in open fields for 160 years and then moved underground into caves, excavated tunnels or quarries. This form of cultivation is still used in France today. From France, the gardeners of England found Agaricus bisporus a very easy crop to grow which required little labor, investment and space. By 1865, the United States began mushroom cultivation. There are two widely known genetic variants of Agaricus bisporus, these are Portobello and Cremini. Truffles have been cultivated as far back as 1600 BC. As recently as 1903, truffles were believed to be a product of oak trees. Until after World War II, the only means of obtaining truffles was collecting them in the wild. These subterranean mushrooms cannot be cultivated in the usual sense because they form a mycorrhizal, symbiotic, relationship with the roots of trees. The two most popular species cultivated are Tuber melanosporum, the Perigord truffle, and Tuber magnatum, the white truffle. The idea of growing truffles began in 1972, in an oak plantation. This required up to 10 years or more before the first truffles were harvested. Numerous efforts have been made to grow oaks outside of their native area that mostly failed, until 1987, when some New Zealanders attempted to grow truffles. This was successful and it only took 5 years to harvest the mushrooms. Mushroom production in Hungary can look back upon 100-year-old history. At the beginning horse manure was used exclusively as substrate in wooden sheds and other surface houses. Hungarian mushroom production had its height between the I and II World Wars when in 1938 Hungary was the third largest mushroom-growing country with the 200 tons/year just behind France and the USA. In the last 50 years, the Netherlands has grown into the largest mushroom production country within the European Union, with an annual production of 270 million kilograms and more than 10,000 jobs. Next to China and the United States, the Netherlands holds third place in the market. China is in first place with 70% of the world's production. Every year, millions of tons of mushrooms are cultivated worldwide. Lentinusitodes, Shiitake, was originally cultured in China about 800 years ago. Research in Japan claims that this mushroom has medicinal use. Shiitake was combined with AIDS drugs to boost immune response, combat chronic fatigue and induce antibody formation to hepatitis B. Shiitake also stimulate anti-tumor activity. Numerous attempts have been made to cultivate morels, but this mushroom has never been successfully cultivated commercially. Although there are several species of edible morels, Morchella esculenta is the most sought after. During 1980 in the United States, Ron Ower grew the first Morchella esculenta, but his yield was very low. Several years later, Gary Mills of Neogene Corporation collaborated with Ron and seemed to successfully produce a high-yield method, but it only worked in Michigan. Attempts to use this method elsewhere failed. Thank you friends for watching this video. There are 3 further videos to complete this course. Regards from the Department of Plant Biology and Plant Biotechnology. Thank you.
Want to know more about these topics? Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe our channel.